Today in Grow a Garden in Roblox, I want to try something a little bit different. I want to rank every single event from S tier down to like C tier. I want to give you my thoughts on the events, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, and then I want you to comment down below with your favorite event or the event you hated the most. Provide some feedback so maybe the developers can get some ideas of what we like about Grow a Garden and what we don't like about Grow a Garden. If this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button, become part of the first 300k OGs on the channel, and let's get into the video. So I started this game in the Busy Bees event. So I have very little experience when it comes to the Easter shop, the Venus flytrap, or the 3-week event of the lunar glow and the blood moon and all that kind of stuff. I'll give you my thoughts on those pets. I'll give you my thoughts on what I can read about those events. But if you have experience with those 3 early events, comment down below with your thoughts. Now remember, nostalgia plays a factor here. Sometimes we get really excited about the old things because they were old and we enjoyed them because they were new to us. But if we think about it, their mechanics in those events could have been poor or boring or anything. So keep that in mind. So first up, we have the Easter shop event. I never had the chance to participate, but I want to go and take a look at what the event entailed. So reading through the wiki, basically from what I can gather, was an NPC would appear near the shop and she wanted gold fruits. And once you brought her 30 kilograms worth of gold fruits, she would give you access to the shop, and the shop restock was randomized, and it would randomize every 60 minutes. And then from there, you spent your money to acquire whatever was in the shop. Overall, that seems really simple to do. And I wonder how common the gold mutation was back then during that time. For me, that seems kind of simple, almost too simple, but yet when you compare it to current events are far, far too complicated. So where would I put that? You know what? I'm going to place it as such, okay? I'm going to put this in the D tier. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the D tier to did not play. I'll give you my thoughts on these things that I did not play, but I'll put these things in the did not play tier. Overall, it seems like the Easter event was a nice attempt at an event. It was a very first attempt at the event, and as such, the developers weren't quite sure exactly how to do things with these events. So it was a really good try for a first event. Then we have this guy here, the Venus flytrap event, also known as the Angry Plant event, another event that I did not participate in. Now, judging by the description, Jim the plant wanted you to bring him specific crops with specific weights and sometimes specific mutations. This kind of sounds like a nightmare to do. And once his progress bar was filled, you would either get a basic seed pack or a premium seed pack. And looking at this chart, these were some of the things he wanted as well as the specific weights he wanted. What happens if the weight was 0.1 over or 0.1 under the weight he wanted? I will once again place this into the did not play category, but I do not like the concept of having to bring a turn-in of a specific plant with a specific weight. We're already struggling right now bringing in plants with specific mutations in the Halloween event. I can imagine what that would be like. Comment down below how particular was the plant with those weight requirements. After that, we have the Lunar Glow event, and the Lunar Glow event is the last of the events I did not play. I'll put it into the did not play category. Let's go take a quick look at it. Now, the Lunar Glow event was a 3-week event and had 3 different sets of rewards like we do now in the Halloween event. The first set gave you the Night Egg and the Mooncat. Night Egg had the raccoon in it. The second set was the Blood Shop. And this one definitely gives me the Busy Bee feel, where you had to turn in moonlit or bloodlit crops to get points and have points for turn-ins, etc. And these are all the rewards you got for your points, and then many of them cost millions and millions of gold to acquire. I mean, that event seems fine. It seems very similar to many of the other events we have enjoyed, so I can see where the developers took inspiration. That must have been one of the more popular events of the time, which is why many events after that were very similar. Now we're going to move on to the events I'm intimately familiar with. The Busy Bees event is my very first event, so it's going to be very difficult for me to separate nostalgia from the event itself. The basic structure was waiting every hour, and every hour the bees would go to put pollinated on your plants. You would turn in pollinated plants to get honey, honey to get rewards. A very simple structure about worrying about what mutations were on your plants and turning those in for hand-ins. As a theme, I found it really cool. Definitely fits a gardening theme. As a mechanic, I liked that it was simple and easy to do even for young children, and the rewards were interesting at the time. The Queen Bee, the Disco Bee were all really cool at the time. As such, I'm putting this, no pun intended, into the B category. It wasn't one of my favorite events, but it was definitely a really solid event, not too complicated. Which then leads into the next event, which I have mixed feelings on, and that is the summer event, the Summer Harvest. The Summer Harvest brought a lot of really cool things to the game. It brought the Paradise Egg, which has some really cool plants or pets in it, and then it brought some really cool plants as well. It brought an entirely new plant shop, but removed the original shop. Removing the original shop, kind of a downside. I think the developers learned pretty quickly from that event that taking things away from the players was not really great and not well received by the players, but simply adding on to pre-existing things was a better result. Having said that, I personally really enjoyed the event itself. I found myself going into Discord servers to find other people doing the event, all of us having tons of tomatoes or tons of sugar apples at the time, and then handing them in to try and maximize our rewards in a short window of time once an hour. I found that fun, but the more I think about it, did kids find that fun? Did young audiences find that fun? Did they enjoy having to wait until the top of the hour to participate in the event? Or would they like being able to participate in the event at any time? On the flip side, the top of the hour concept was used in the Lunar event. It was used in the Busy Bee event before. It was also used in this event and a lot moving forward. Is that the right way to do things? Having an event where you only participate at the top of the hour, or is it better to have events that anyone can just start doing and working on as soon as they log into the game, depending on no matter when they log into the game? I don't like that they took away the shop. I do like a lot about the summer event. Overall, I'm going to give it a solid A. I really enjoyed my time in the summer event. I enjoyed working towards those prismatic rewards. It was a lot of fun for me. Now, the prehistoric event was fantastic. It is easily, I think, for me, an S tier event. Why was it an S tier event? It introduced a brand new seed to the game that was the most powerful, most expensive, best seed in the game, the Bone Blossom. So already you had people being interested in the events because they wanted to acquire the Bone Blossom. And they also introduced a quest system, a daily quest system that allowed people to work towards a reward that was beneficial and fitting of the event. They got to work towards the Bone Blossom. So they could do their daily quests every 3 or 4 days and acquire a Bone Blossom. Anybody could do that. Anybody could participate, a young child all the way up to a parent. And something like that is awesome. Taking the RNG out of things and allowing people to work towards things is really cool and something I think the developers might want to emulate and use moving forward. On top of that, dinosaurs are cool. The theme was cool. The pets in the eggs were very neat. And the cosmetics were also really cool. All in all, I think the prehistoric event was an S tier event. And now we move on to a somewhat controversial event, but not the most controversial event. We'll get to that. This one was controversial for only one reason alone. And many of you who participated in the Zen event will know what I mean. That this event was controversial only because many people felt and thought that a 0.08% chance on a hatch for the red kitsune was too far. It was way too far. The developers were off their rocker. There was no way that having a 0.08% chance to hatch anything was fair, even though the raccoon previously in the normal egg was a 0.1, a difference of only 0.02%. However, the extra zero really threw people off. Having said that, there was a lot to really enjoy about the event. Because of the way the developers created the pets for this event, there are ways to actively play the game consistently and constantly. With the introduction of the Kadama, with the introduction of the Tenshizuru, people were able to participate in the event at any time they felt like it, as often as they felt like it, as long as they felt like it. And people really enjoyed that active nature of playing the event specifically. Now, don't get me wrong, people love the AFK nature of their gardens, but when they want to sit down and actually play Grow a Garden, they want something active to do. It's part of the reason I feel why things like 99 Nights in the Forest and Sila Brain Rot are so fun for young audiences, is because as soon as they get into the game, they're playing the game, they're doing something in the game, and they keep doing it until they're done playing the game. On the flip side, this led to a problem. of people using AFK macros to farm the event, which led into a further problem we're about to talk about, but we're not there yet. But at the time, it was fine. And the red kitsune, even to this day, is one of the coolest and most desirable pets in the game. But it was after this point that things started to change for Grow a Garden, and we're about to talk about that here in the next event. So my ranking for the Zen event, I felt it was a really solid event. I think I liked it a little bit less than the Summer Harvest event, but I think it was really, really good. I think people really enjoyed the active nature of the event structure. Now we move on to the beginning of the controversy in Grow a Garden's event structures. This is the cooking event, which is also the trading update. And that's what we're going to talk about. Well, let's talk about trading in just a second. Let's focus on the cooking event. The cooking concept was not young audience friendly, but for those of us who are a little bit older, I'm talking young teenagers to adults, there was something really cool about the event that those of us who were older enjoyed. And that was working together in places like Discord servers to discover all the recipes for these cooking events, to try and figure out all the recipes for the prismatic food. That rush, that race to try and find all the recipes was fun and it was great, but it was not kid friendly. And not kid-friendly at all. And because I'm going to make up a number just off my intuition and say 80% of gamers who play Roblox are young audiences, maybe even 85% are young audiences. Because of that, not writing down the recipes in a recipe book that they did add eventually, not writing down those recipes for young audiences to look at and then try and acquire was an oversight. It was great for us older people to rush together and work together as a team and figure out all the recipes, but it was not good for young gamers. As such, I think that was a big miss for the cooking update. And then there's a trading part of that. Trading, as I think many of us are starting to realize, myself included, trading in this game was its biggest mistake. It was the fork in the road moment for Grow a Garden. And it changed the way every single one of us looked at, used, participated in, and analyzed every update moving forward. Because for us, it was less about what's fun to do in the event and what's cool to do in the event, and more about, look at us farming this egg. Oh no, this egg's, the divine has no value because we farmed it into the dirt. Oh, this sucks. They need to make things rarer. Oh, they made things too rare and too hard for kids. And on and on and on and on and on. Trading solidified the structure of the attitude, our attitude of looking at events and looking at the rewards and comparing them to what value they're going to hold in trades. And that ruined the game for a lot of people. As such, I think the cooking event was a bomb. I think the cooking event was a bomb. I'm actually going to add another category. This thing was a D for two reasons. One, trading was a big mistake. And two, the cooking concept was too difficult for young audiences to figure out on their own. Moving on, we have the Beanstalk event. The Beanstalk event was the first event after the trading update, and it really started to give us a hint or a taste of what it was going to be like to chase after the rare pets and watch how quickly the rare pets went down in value. And it kind of gave everyone a bad taste in their mouth because of that. As an event structure, this was before you could look in the garden guide to figure out what fruits and what vegetables have what subtypes. And before we could do that, this taught us about subtypes. Actually, the cooking event also taught us about subtypes. But I think the entire subtype concept was just a bit too much for young audiences. I like the aesthetic of the Beanstalk update. I like some of the rewards of the Beanstalk update. I like the obby aspect. I think that's kind of cool. So I think this was mid. I think the Beanstalk update was pretty mid. Nothing too wrong with it. Nothing too great with it. I think it was okay. And that reminds me, the Beanstalk update was one of the first updates to introduce the mechanic of resetting the shop with shekels to try and curb inflation. And this next event, the fairy event, also did that a lot. And I don't know how well it accomplished that feature. I think people were mildly interested in the fairy event. There's something tickling my memory about the fairy event, something I did not like, something that did not go over well. I'm trying to remember what that was. Even looking through my video titles, I can't quite figure out what it is about the fairy event that's triggering a memory of me going, there's something here I want to talk about, and I can't remember what it was. The fairy event wasn't received very well, and around this time, the game started to get pretty complicated. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just, I think it was just too complicated of an event. Yes, I think it was that. You needed fairies and another currency. You needed a currency to power up the amount of fairies on the field, and then after that, you needed the fairies on the field to pay for certain things and use the shekels to reset the shop to pay for certain things. And there was a fairy world that was only available sometimes, and it was a whole lot going on in that event, if I remember correctly. All in all, I didn't really enjoy the fairy event that much. It wasn't that much fun for me. I'm going to put it firmly in the C tier. I think it was better than the cooking event / trading update, but not by much. Having said that, this next update tried to correct for that. It tried to correct and simplify things. All the merchants were in one spot, and it was a very simple event to do, and you can actively play it every 5 minutes. You could do it over and over and over again. You could be active with it. That was really cool. I think why the fall market and all these events right now, but this fall market specifically, why it kind of fell a little bit flat and didn't fix the downward trend for things, is that the subject, the topic is kind of dull, right? I mean, looking back through history, you're like, but bees, busy bees, that's not really interesting, right? And a summer update, that's not super interesting. How is a fall update different than a summer update? You're right, but the summer update was really early and it was really new. But the fall update was multiple updates into the game, and when you compare the fall update to some of the ones they had before, it's a fairly simple concept. And the pets were all pretty pedestrian, normal pets. And I think at this point, it just wasn't that interesting to do. Having said that, I really like the fall update. I like the simplicity. I like the feel. I like the atmosphere. I like the pets. But right now, all of these updates, all of these events are being kind of poisoned by the whole pet trading thing. And everything's being compared to the values of what these things are worth. And if they're worthless, it makes people kind of sour on it, et cetera, et cetera. I liked the fall market event. Overall, I like it as a B. But aside from that, I don't know. Now, this next event, I did not like, and I did not even do. I made a couple of videos on it and then walked away from it. This was the seed evolution concept. I did not like that you had a tier 1 seed and you turn it into a tier 2 and you get a small reward. And then you turned it into a tier 3 and you get a small reward. And then you took to tier 3 and you turned it into a tier 4, and that was the big reward. Congratulations, you got the big reward. And then you sat there with the tier 4 seed and it was useless to you. It was just a money-making thing and none of them made much money. I don't know. That whole concept felt weird. The whole concept didn't really do anything for me, and I'm not alone in that feeling. Overall, I think the Seed Stages update was kind of a flat D. It did not spark any inspiration. It only lasted a week for that reason. Now, the Nutty Fever, the Chubby Chipmunk update. Props to the developers for trying something new. Everyone gets his pet for free, and it's cool, and you try and make it bigger, and you get rewards, you can reset it, it's kind of cool. Props to developers for that. But the developers, they didn't, how do I word this? They didn't articulate very well how the thing would work. I didn't realize until many, many, many days into the event that the rate with which the Chubby Chipmunk got older was exponential. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it got older really slow, but the older it got and the fatter it got, the quicker its growth was. It gained exponentially more XP per minute or per eating or whatever it was. It grew exponential. I didn't know that. And that wasn't articulated anywhere. So it felt like, especially within the first handful of days of the brand new event, it felt like, oh my God, it's going to take forever to get this chipmunk heavy enough to get suitable rewards. And then the other method of getting rewards is running around the map grabbing acorns, and a lot of people did not find that engaging. So overall, the Nutty Fever event kind of fell flat. It fell quite flat for everybody. And now we're going to talk about the Ghoul Garden event, which is the current event that is now pretty much done. We all know how this event works out. This event has so many amazing things, and it missed so many things simultaneously. A lot of these events are just kind of mid. This event has some crazy highs and some stupid lows. Crazy highs in terms of the atmosphere. Not all the atmosphere, the designs are phenomenal. The cosmetics look great. The pets look great. The plants look really, really good. So I'll give them props for the design. They made a great job. They dropped the ball by not changing the map and giving the entire map a 24/7 really cool Halloween atmosphere. That was an easy thing to do. A little map change. They didn't do that, and that's too bad. Then they decided, rightfully, to have a 3-week-long event. Great idea. And then they decided that they would have all the events on a rotating system where for multiple hours the new event wasn't available. That sucks. And then they made it so that you had to hurry up and wait all the time. You had to wait for digs. You had to wait for this. You had to wait for that. A lot of waiting. A lot of standing around not doing much. That's why I like the Zen event. I like the active nature of the Zen event. I like the relatively active nature of the fall market. Every 5 minutes, you can hand in your rewards and reset your shops and go shopping. I like that. I like the active nature of that. But the Ghoul Garden fell flat. Ghoul Garden's too complicated. The Ghoul Garden's too involved. The Ghoul Garden has too much standing around not doing anything. And overall, it just kind of fell flat. Kind of fell flat. I'm going to give it a low C overall because I really like the designs of the pets, the plants, and the cosmetics. I love the designs. They're all great. And some of the effects are really good. They give us a really cool pet in the Headless Horseman. Fantastic pet. The mummy, it looks like it's going to be a fantastic pet for its effect. But overall, I wish it was better because it felt like a lot of the events beforehand were filler. The Chipmunk event, the Seed Evolution event, they felt like filler. And I was hoping that the Ghoul event, the Halloween event, was going to be S tier. And it was close. Design-wise, it was S tier. But event structure-wise, not so good. And the developers had to put multiple patches in every single week to make things easier for people. Because again, your audience is 80 to 90% kids. And something you have to remember. What do you guys think of this list? Which event is S tier for you? Which event is an F? Is there an F in these events? Is nostalgia making you feel like the early events are the best? But if you look at them without nostalgia, what do you think of the early events? Comment down below with your thoughts, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit subscribe. Become part of the first 300K OGs on the channel. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.